Hello everyone and welcome to Sounds of Stadia SideQuest, a show where we take a step off the critical path and explore more of what the video game world has to offer. On this week's show, I'm joined by the host of Sounds of Stadia podcast, Mr. Chris.
Hello, Side Questions.
Yeah, side questions, I like it.
Side Questions.
Yeah.
It's like a question, but for people who do side quests.
So does that mean that we're going to have to get an emoji of a horse with a Stadia logo stamped on its side?
Branded.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, we'll spray paint it on. We won't brand a horse. It's quite cruel.
That's what they do in real life. I agree, it's cruel, but that's what they do in real
horses?
life. Yeah.
Let us know in the comments if people brand horses with an actual
all animals.
Do they? Like with sheep, they just spray in colours, don't they?
Yeah, but sheep, you get loads of them. They're not worth as much. Although they do come with their own coats.
Yeah. That aside, this week we're going to be talking about remakes and remasters potentially coming to Stadia or potentially not, or just things that we think that should come. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications. And if you want to support the channel, you can for as little as 99p by becoming a YouTube member, which gives you early access to this very show. Support the channel, you get access to our emojis. You'll get access to our nothing's gate kept. So if you don't have any money, you can get the show when it goes live on Fridays, as usual. Don't forget that this show is on podcast services, as is a Sounds of Stadia podcast, which comes out on Monday on YouTube as well. And check out our Thursday night live streams. And if you have a topic idea for the show, don't forget you can join our Discord and drop a suggestion. The link is in the description. So, remakes and remasters, quite topical because recently we've just found out that Grand Theft Auto, there's potentially going to be a Grand Theft Auto trilogy of remasters, and Kotaku claiming that it is due to come to Google Stadia. So that seems like a good place to start the discussion. Yeah,
obviously every week we sit down and we think, what Stadia topic can we branch out into? And in the past we've done what games we'd like to see. Just last week, what genres we need more. We've done game preservation in the past, and all of those kind of feed in nicely to where we are today, which is in the world of remasters and remakes on all of the platforms. I'd love to see them come to Stadia because obviously it's a new platform that needs a bigger library, but there's a wealth of games that have deservedly so had remasters, some not so deservedly so. Some, though, get them, and what it does is it encompasses all the greatness of the older titles into one nice, tidy package. And I think for newer gamers, especially people to a newer platform, it's a way of them experiencing the culture and legacy of the games industry in the most modern scenario, and that is through cloud gaming, of course. It's brand new to everybody. So yeah, the Grand Theft Auto news, we covered it on the podcast again, episode 99, if you've not seen that. Sounds Steady podcast every Monday, in fact, and 4 times a month. Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar, some of the biggest games in our history, in gaming history, remastered, coming to Stadia, according to Kotaku and their sources there. That's awesome stuff. I love to see it, and I think it would be a big win for the platform. It would be great for people to be able to experience in the game, not only on their phone with the proper controller. We're well aware there's also mobile iterations of that on the way coming.
Are you aware there's a whole generation of kids who've never played Grand Theft Auto Vice City and experienced that soundtrack?
Yes, and I'm also aware that same generation probably doesn't care for that 80s music, but it's awesome.
They will care. They will care when they're stealing cars and jumping over bridges and thingy in cocaine busts. They will start to care.
Yeah, Phil Collins will make you care.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's just one of the games that we've heard rumor it is coming.
Yeah.
But like you said, the whole point of this show is we want to discuss a little bit more about theorizing what we think could come, what has a potential chance, what doesn't, and we've got a list of titles here, of course. So I don't know, where would you like to start off, Richie?
Well, so the entire list I've pulled together, these are all remasters or remakes that are confirmed to exist. Some of them we have dates for, some of them we don't, some of them we have platforms for, some of them we don't. The Grand Theft Auto one is probably the most nebulous one, where we're relying on Kotaku's reporting when they seem pretty adamant that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
We'll quickly go over Grand Theft Auto 5 because we know there's going to be a basically a next gen upgrade to that, so it loosely fits in the category. And we'll have a bit of theories that it may become to Stadia. We've touched on it many times. We've seen things like online currencies with Stadia logos next to them. So there's a good chance. But I don't want to dwell on that because we have talked that one to death already in the past.
Yeah, in the podcast and the game. But you're completely right. It's what, the third iteration? PlayStation 3, 360, Xbox One, and then so it's the third. It's the game has leaped. And this isn't a remaster, really, is it? It's kind of just like the next gen.
It's a next gen upgrade, but in some ways you could say that is a remaster because you're taking a game that already exists and repolishing it. So
exactly.
Actually, let's define remasters and remakes for the sake of this conversation. When I think of a remaster, I'm thinking of a game that already exists. They're taking the source code and then they're probably up-resing things, maybe polishing a few textures here or there. But fundamentally, it's the same gameplay experience, just looks a bit prettier. And a few little tweaks here and there. Where a remake, I think they're going back to the original vision of what the game is and making it again right from the start.
From the ground up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess a good few examples in recent mind we're going to talk about in a book, but like the Mass Effect Remaster, Legendary Edition, that was, like you said, taking it and tweaking them. I've just finished 1 and nearly 2. And yes, they are still very much old games. Whereas on the flip side, the Dead Space title we know we're getting is a remake, where they're taking the initial story and vision and they're just doing it from the ground up. So, good point to probably clear that because the games we're going to talk about, there's a back and forth between them. GTA 5, however, is kind of that weird thing where it's getting a next gen port, but it's not a remaster because it's so heavily tweaked and updated constantly anyway, like a games as a service almost nowadays.
I've put in, I'm going to put it loosely in the Venn diagram of remasters, but it's not like in the middle of the circle. It's kind of off to the side with just like with being games as a service. But let's move on a bit from GTA. Let's go Ubisoft. And let's start with Prince of Persia.
So this one is a remaster, right? It must be a remaster. Based on that trailer we saw at Ubisoft Forward when it got absolutely torn apart by the audiences saying it's just the PS2 game again.
I think the official title of the game is Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time Remake. It's a remake.
What?
That might be why it got tore apart so much. Now I think of it.
Because with our definition of remaster remake, this should be just this shouldn't be an up-res version. This should be from the ground up, built for 2021, 2020.
Yeah, this is like
quality.
What you're doing is you're looking at what happened before. This is what Prince of Persia: Sands of Time is, and you're doing it again, but all the code's fresh, all the assets are fresh.
So it should look stunningly beautiful.
Yes.
Not what it looked like in some of the cutscenes they showed off.
For me, it doesn't have to be stunningly beautiful. I don't think any game needs to be stunningly beautiful, but it needs to be at least on par with what's coming out around the same time.
Agreed. And we should mention again, trying to link everything back to Stadia. We don't just want to pull random games out of our ass and be like, we'd love to see. Well, of course, we'd love to see every game come to the platform. For me, the Prince of Persia tie-in is the Ubisoft connection.
Yes.
Ubisoft are proven to be one of the biggest supporters of Google Stadia. They have been from the very beginning with just the Project Stream, that was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Right to this day, they are to date the only platform that has its own subcategory that you can subscribe to, Ubisoft Plus, get all the games without needing a pro subscription. It's a separate entity unto itself. And we know there's still an absolute plethora of Google and Ubisoft games that have been rated, due to come out and announced. It's just a matter of if not when. And most new titles coming from Ubisoft, we've seen it with Far Cry, we're seeing it with the Avatar title, Riders Republic. All the new games are coming day one to the platform. So Prince of Persia is this weird anomaly where it's only coming out on last gen, PS4 and Xbox Series One. It's not PS5 version, so it's kind of stuck in the middle.
It seems an odd choice at this moment in time. This is why I wonder if it's went through a bit of development hell and the development cycle's getting extended. Because for something that's coming out, well, next gen's hit us. We're in it now with the PS5. It's well, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X will be about a year old will be over a year old before this comes out, probably.
Yeah, I know they got. It was the studio. I can't remember the exact location, but it was one of Ubisoft's newer branches as
Yeah.
well. It was being made by, so I think that had some problems with the development as well because it wasn't necessarily a traditional team working on it. May not have the expertise, or they might not even have the same budget. Let's be honest, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes with that. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out soon.
But
It's not
at the
Montreal.
moment, it's not looking like it will be coming to Stadia, and with the fact that they've kind of delayed it to basically, clearly on the response that they had from the Ubisoft Connect, that they're going to rework probably a significant amount, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they need
It
to get this one
it
right.
may or may not come to Stadia.
I think it will.
I want it to. I want them to go back and fix it, make it the game that everyone who's a fan of the series wants it to be. Then bring it to Stadia so I can play a Prince of Persia game for the first time.
Well, can I let you in on a little secret, Richie?
Yeah,
I purchased Sands of Time back when I was a child,
yeah,
originally. I remember I read loads of stuff about it when you used to buy the magazines, purchased it, took it home, played probably about a third of the game, and I got to a point where I couldn't get past a certain area, and my child brain couldn't figure out how to utilize the time
yeah.
to get past a certain area, and I kept dying, or I got stuck in a hole, or whatever it was. And I took the game back and I refunded it because I couldn't get past that point, and I never played it again. I never owned the game again. I refunded it within the same week.
I think we've all done that actually with games.
Now is my chance to redeem myself and actually complete the game because I'm sure my adult brain should be able to process whatever stumbling block the child version of me got past. But it's just one of them. I remember looking really forward to it. Enjoyed what I played. The time travel element, like the time control elements, a fantastic game
Yeah,
mechanics. And yeah, my brain just couldn't solve the puzzle. So I just went, you know what? I'm going to take this back. Money is precious as a child with no job or income. I'd rather spend that on sweets
yeah.
or candy.
All right.
So
Moving on to the next one. Is again another one? I think we've both played all the games in this series. Assassin's Creed Ezio Collection. Now again, it's another one that's
uh,
not confirmed to Stadia. But the way Stadia and Ubisoft have been working together, and the way that they're slowly being actually keep going back and adding more and more Assassin's Creed titles, gives me a lot of hope for this.
yeah, I think it's a matter of time. They've literally got nearly every. They've got Assassin's Creed Rogue coming to
Yeah,
Stadia. Now that's like the evil twin that nobody
I
wants to
think.
play. Great game,
Yeah,
but very few people played it because it was that Black Flag counterpart.
yeah. Black Flag's coming as well. Or is it already here?
Yep, Black Flag.
I think the only
No,
ones
it's not,
that
not out yet.
I think the only ones that aren't confirmed are one, the trilogy of two, which is the Ezio collection, and three. They're the only ones not.
No,
Is three confirmed for
three's.
Stadia?
I think three's confirmed as well. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what's the odd outlier. Obviously, Assassin's Creed One,
So
the original one with
this is why it
Altair.
seemed like they're working their way backwards through the franchise.
Yeah, the first one has never had a remaster though.
Yeah.
So like we've had the Ezio collection, but the original has not had anything done. So I think that's maybe next on. They've gone the weird reverse way about it. You're totally right. In terms of the Ezio collection, I've got the platinum trophy for every game in
Yeah.
that title. Played them, absolutely loved them. Had very nostalgic memories, and the remaster version is a great remaster of all three. They all hold up really well, and of course the story and the character. We argue. We said on what was it last week's podcast? Even saying about Assassin's Creed, the problem is the franchise. It's a new protagonist every single entry.
Yeah, I
It,
can't remember what
very
we've talked about.
recently
We
we
have
covered
talked
that.
about recently.
And the Ezio correction is so good because it's the one guy
Yeah,
you get to know and you get his whole story arc from being a young teenage lad, his family, spoilers, something happens to them,
yeah,
all the way through to old age, and it ties in beautifully, and definitely recommend starting there if you've never played an Assassin's Creed game before.
yeah.
But yeah, again, Ubisoft, I think it's just a matter of time
Yeah.
with them.
I think this is just a matter of time. Probably once they got Black Flag and Free and Rogue on the platform, then we'll almost immediately get an announcement for probably the SEO collection and one.
Yeah.
Unless they're doing a remake of one.
I'd imagine one's probably that old, it probably deserves a remake at this point.
Yeah, and I think it probably have to maybe be a remake rather than a remaster because I think there was quite a lot of improvements between one and two in terms of
There
how the
was
game
two.
plays.
Yeah, like most games too.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, unlike movies, the sequel with video
yeah,
games is quite often better. It takes all the mechanics and stuff that made the first entry really good and just improves on them and
yeah.
adds more.
We
I'm
know
seeing that with
we
Mass
know where
Effect
the
2 right now.
pitfalls. You know where the pitfalls are. You know what's worked. You know what didn't work, and you can address it in the sequel. Um,
100%.
But yeah, so let's move on to where should we go? Let's touch on Life is Strange quickly, because we touched on the podcast. Life is Strange and Before the Storm remasters. We know they're coming to the platform. It's going to be early 2022 now because they got delayed. I was one. I think I said in the podcast that I was slightly confused as to even why these games needed a remaster. I would have been quite happy with just a straight up port. So I don't think they even
Yeah,
old.
I think it's that point of like they know they can repackage them and sell them maybe for a higher price. There's probably statistics that show if you put the name remaster on your box and do like as minimal work as possible to bring it up standard a little bit to current day, you can make a ton of money from it.
It might just be making them available to like play in 4K or something like that. They're probably capped at 1080p, I imagine, at the moment.
Yeah,
So that might be
it's like collection versions and stuff as well, isn't it? It's taking what was, because remember, Life is Strange was episodic, so taking it and putting it in one solid bundle could be a whole entity unto itself. But yeah, great games. I'm looking forward to playing them. Obviously, shame about the delay that it's going to come out after True Colors, but we know these are confirmed, so that's a remaster we are getting on the platform, and hopefully we'll see Life is Strange 2 in the future.
You know what's another thing that we are definitely getting on the platform, and you're probably quite cross about this one? Mafia 1 and 2. We didn't talk about it this week in the podcast, so
well, and 3 because it's the trilogy.
Is 3 3's a new game though, isn't it? I think it's only 1 and 2 are the remakes.
No. So this is where it's weird. So, 2 and 3 were remastered. So even though 3 was quite a new game, 2 and 3 were remastered and retweaked for the new package for the trilogy. 1 is a complete remake.
Right, yeah.
So it's again very odd that they didn't go back and do all of them to some degree, but I guess 1 was just so old it needed bringing up to speed. So yeah, 1 is a complete remake, 2 and 3 are remasters. And then in a weird way, when these titles came out in September 2020 on consoles, PlayStation 4, Xbox, etc., the first game did not launch in the summer when 2 and 3 did. So basically, if you went into a store and purchased the disc for the Mafia trilogy, 2 and 3 were on the disc. 1 was DLC that didn't come out until September.
Yeah.
It was so weird and convoluted, and that leads me to believe why it still hasn't come out on Stadia, because Hangar 13 are clearly having some kind of behind-the-scenes issues, or maybe they've just forgot. Because I didn't do it in the podcast, Richie, but I'm going to do it here on SideQuest again.
Well,
I mentioned there September.
That was one of the reasons why it's actually made the list for this episode, because you missed it in the podcast.
Yeah, so at the time of recording, folks, Mafia Definitive Trilogy Edition came out on, like I said, consoles, September 25th, 2020. If you don't know, we're in August now, ladies and gentlemen, which means we are up to, as of the time of recording, which is the 14th of August, we are 323 days since the launch on other platforms, without a mention or a sniff of news from Stadia, Hangar 13, 2K, and it's just getting to a point where I genuinely feel like they've just forgot about the port.
I'd love them to just turn around and go, yes, it's still coming. Even that would be an improvement. It's
ironic that we're talking about remastered, and at this point, by the time it comes out, it's going to need another remaster of all of these ones because it's dated so much. But again, we're by the time like a couple of more episodes in, Richie, and we will have reached the anniversary of its release on other consoles. And it's bad. It's a bad look from a consumer standpoint. I know I bitch and moan about it every bloody week on the podcast, but that's just because I don't feel like they should have announced it if it wasn't ready in the next half a year. And we're almost on an entire year.
Or just give us a loose timeline. Update. If it's going to be a year after, if they're going to go, it's going to release initially on PlayStation and Xbox, and then it will become at a later date on Stadia. But they didn't give us that.
Yeah. Well, that's what sours it the most. The fact that it was announced last year, and then everyone thought, oh, well, the console release is September, so it'll be coming September, And September came and went. Okay, maybe the Stadia port is just a little bit delayed. Didn't say anything, though. Yeah. The weeks tick by, the months tick by. Here's Christmas. It snowed. Well, hey, New Year. Everyone celebrates. Fast forward. Spring. Yeah. Come and gone. Summer. Nearly come. And it's just like, how long do you not talk to your audience about something you've told them is coming?
I think it's development studios and stuff, talking to the audience, is because it's more of a modern thing. So I think there's some studios out there who still, right, we'll keep our cards close to our chest until we've got something to say, and we'll just ignore everything. Which I think the industry's kind of moved away from that sort of attitude.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got to communicate with your audience. But like I said, it's just at this laughable point now. I talk about it every week because I don't want people to forget about it. My love for this game has gone out the window. I won't be buying this title.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to not talk about it on our shows until the day it comes. I'm going to be a broken record because if we don't talk about it, then people don't
You
like.
know what's going to
again,
happen, Chris?
Yeah.
You're going to go, right, up to the day, I'm not going to buy it, I'm not going to buy it, I'm not going to buy it. It's going to come out as a Stadia Pro game. You're going to do a first look.
That's because I promised
Yeah.
our audience that. That's it.
And I think that first look would be hilarious. It's just like you're going, what, I waited a year for this.
Or I might have a great time and I might buy the other titles, but well, it might be a package. We'll see. We'll see. Time will. Well, I say time will tell, but I've been waiting 300 plus days and time hasn't told me yet. So hopefully Hangar 13 or 2K will tell me something soon enough.
I'm trying to decide. Well, there's a couple of things on here that I'm not going to touch on this episode because they're Activision Blizzard, like Diablo 2, Call of Duty stuff. Like, at the moment, as far as we can tell, Activision have zero relationship with Google, so I wouldn't expect any remasters or remakes because we're not even getting any Activision games full stop at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much left outside the Call of Duty studios, really, at this point. Like, we saw the ones who did Crash Bandicoot and Spyro have all been folded into support teams for Call of Duty. So
Toys for Bob has become a Call of Duty support studio. Vicarious Visions has been folded into Blizzard and it's become, I think they're working on Diablo. It might be Diablo 2, actually, they're working on. They're working on Diablo 2 Resurrected, which is not announced to come to Stadia, and I'm not expecting it to. It is coming to consoles, though. So there's always going to be a slim hope, but Activision seem to have very little relationship with any sort of cloud gaming dedicated platform. I can't recall anything for Luna or GeForce Now, really.
No. They pulled the GeForce Now stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, if there is updates on that stuff, let us know in the comments. But I don't want to dwell on Activision, so let's just move on. I just wanted to. We're talking about remasters, remakes. They've got some coming up, and obviously things like Crash, which was a fantastic remake.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
But I'm not expecting them on Stadia, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, Crash and Spyro.
But what I would love to see on Stadia is the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. Which actually, when we saw the Square Enix press conference not long ago, when these were announced, I was initially disappointed. Because I thought the way it was going to work, it looked like it was going to be a remake, but then it just turned out to be a remaster.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Final Fantasy 1 through 6. So this is like the SNES era of games, and I haven't played any of them. And as a Final Fantasy fan, I want to play these games.
Yeah, and they're coming to mobile, right?
Yeah,
that was the crappy part of the whole announcement is they were announced and everyone thought, oh, this is amazing, and then it said mobile, like Android Play Store and stuff.
Yeah, I was like, oh, just bring them to PlayStation, bring them to Stadia, bring them to Xbox, bring them to PCs. Like, I'll now buy them.
Especially with the touch input, the direct touch input that's coming, it could lend itself really well.
Final Fantasy games are quite long. If anyone's ever played them, I don't want to spend like probably 60 hours minimum. Start playing it on my phone. I just don't.
And we should point out as well, like Square Enix have a relationship with Stadia. We've got a Final Fantasy game on the platform already. So
we have Final Fantasy X. We don't have 7 remake, but there again, no one but Sony has that.
Exclusivity,
yeah. It's weird. Square's weird with the exclusivity because usually you don't get. It's rare you get exclusivity within a franchise, but Square
it happens.
Square seemingly happy to do that with Final Fantasy and Sony.
It happens. One of the ones I'd like to see is obviously myself and you played through Resident Evil 7.
Yeah,
we got that as a pro game. We got Resident Evil 8 Village. as well as part of the Stadia kind of like Capcom relationship where Google apparently paid them $10+ million to port their games over. They ran beautifully. They ran great. We played through them all here on the channel. Go check out those Let's Play videos if you've not seen them already. You and me, not traditional horror game fanatics. Nope, not at all. We're very much cowards when it comes to our horror franchise titles. But we jumped in with our audience, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. I loved Resident Evil 7. I had a great time with Resident Evil Village as well. However, I know the most revered titles from the franchise is Resident Evil 2 and 3, and they've had recently remasters, as we're talking about here, which came out on consoles. So I'm hoping that relationship with Capcom is there, and Stadia are able to go back into the library and say, actually, Capcom, how about he's a cheeky extra 10 million and you give us 2 and 3 as well? Because the heavy rumor is that the next title they're working on is Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
So it would be great to get the stepping stones in place with 2 and 3 on Stadia, and then we get 4, which of course will be a third person entry as opposed to first person, and it just fleshes out that horror option, but again in third person instead. We've obviously, you and me started number 2 the other Halloween, so I'd love to get back in on stream and just play through 2 and 3 because I know they are the most revered between a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's weird that 1 as well is worth mentioning because that has had a remake. I think it initially got a remake for GameCube,
right?
Yeah, but it feels like it's due for another one.
In a weird way, I'd prefer if they went back and done Resident Evil 1 in the Resident Evil engine that all the newer titles have done, just so they could have it chronologically 1, 2, 3. But I mean, that's not how money works.
Original Resident Evil was launched in 1996. It was ported to the GameCube in 2000, and it has a HD version that came out in 2015.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a ground up remake, I think would be. It shows you how long it's been when they actually putting HD as a tag that to like try and sell it on the end.
HD, yeah. High dynamic. No,
high definition.
High definition. Why did I say high? I'm thinking of HDR. Yeah. That's what I'm getting caught up with. But yeah, I think there's a route for it. There's a big possibility, and I just hope the people in charge of Stadia think, well, if Capcom brought 7 and 8 for just 10 million,
and
like how much would they they landed really well. Obviously, we got the Premier Edition bundle promo as well. Like, I just think at a push, it'd be a great win to get, maybe in time for Halloween, maybe not this year at a push, but at least before 4. Because I'd hate to think we get 7 as Pro, then Village, and then Resident Evil 4 is announced as a remaster.
Yeah. And
it doesn't come. And it's like, oh, don't tell me it was just the 2 and you're done. Like, come on, like, build on that relationship, build that foundation with Capcom and work together.
It felt right. It's like, okay, we're getting 7, yeah, we're getting 8 on day and date. Now start building the backlog.
Yeah, that'd be great. And it has to happen because like the relationships need to be there long term. Imagine how void this summer would have been if we didn't get 7 and Village on Stadia. That's a big gap that was filled thanks to these 2 entries. It satiated the audience with a brand new massive hit. It's arguably going to be in a lot of Game of the Year contention as well.
Potentially,
and that's what you want for your platform. You want Game of the Year to be in there.
It's been, as we kind of predicted, that 2021 was going to be quite a quiet year for games, just with the pandemic and everything's getting delayed and stuff. But I can't think of many other titles really that come out this year.
There hasn't been any. That's the ironic thing. So yeah, I'd love to see it. Do we need to do Capcom and Google?
Yeah, but with that, I think that's all we have time for you this week. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to that channel, and hit that bell icon for notifications when all of our content goes live, such as the Sounds of Stadia podcast every Monday, our Thursday night live streams, and SideQuest every Friday, which you can get early if you're a member for as little as 99p. If you want to join the discussion any further, or you've got ideas for topics for SideQuest, don't forget, you can submit them in our Discord. There is a link in the description of this video, or if you listen on the audio thing, there's a link in the description of the audio file. With that, Thank you very much for watching. I've been Richie.
My name's been Chris.
Quest completed.